Justice Radio Station. Social Issues app. Thanks kindly for listening.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. I said empty your mind. Be shapeless. Be formless, like water.
Justice Radio Station. Social Issues app.
Thanks kindly, worldwide. I'm called Mary. Justice Radio Station. Social Issues app. Tonight, the now topic, religion, truth, and identity. Religion, truth, and identity. What is religion? Let's hear one definition. A set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe. How are things out there, everyone? How are things? Religion, truth, and identity. Religion is a set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe, especially when considered as the creation of a superhuman agency or agents, usually involving ritual observances and often containing a moral code governing the conduct of human affairs. Justice Radio Station. Social Issues app. Using words to reveal truth, produce correctness. Justice Radio Station. Orientation, remedy, preparing remedy. Colonized education. Orientation, determination of relative position of something, especially oneself. The child's surroundings provide clues to help in orientation. And when we say surroundings, let's look at, it appears that everyone is born into an environment where words, definition of words, stereotypes already in place for education, for socialization process. Yes, socialization process. So we want to use words, not want to use words. We want everyone to use words that reveal truth, produce correctness. Now, for this to happen, since it's not something that many may not have been aware of, metaphysics, to make a change genuinely, must be preceded by a metaphysical change. That's change in values, concepts, goals, reason for living, life, purpose. Are we ready for this? Justice Radio Station. Want you to check out, visit democracyversusjus.wixsite.com/bookstore for justice. That's Justice Radio Station. Social Issues app. Tahuti?
Justice Radio Station. Social Issues app. Thanks kindly. Peace to you and yours, Scotty Reed. Black Talk Radio Network. Right on.
Right on.
I'm called Tahuti. So tonight topic is
religion, truth, and identity.
Religion, truth, and identity.
Yes. And a definition, and if you don't think about it, one may not remember or think that religion actually concerns itself with the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe. Although, when you look at the teachings or the beliefs, they do take one along a path that makes one think that this is the way God intended everything to be. And again, using words that reveal truth, everyone. That's why I am here to encourage using words to reveal truth, producing correctness. Who am I? Am I really who I am taught to be? The human, the body, the individual, the person? No. Who am I? Am I the self? Yes. Is the self, the body, the human, the person, the individual? No.
Justice Radio Station. Social Issues app. So then, who and what is man? This human, this mind, this body, this person, sometimes called the self.
Falsely, unknowingly, deceitfully.
So then who's the self? We're saying then the self is life.
Yes, that energy that gives life.
The source.
Yes. The power of the self sustains our life. If the self were not present within us, our eyes would not see, nor would our ears hear, nor would our breath come in and go out. Think about it. Experience it, everyone. The power of the self sustains life. If the self were not present within us, our eyes would not see, nor would our ears hear, nor would our breath come in and go out. I am that.
I am that.
I am that.
Infinite. Absolute.
Omniscient.
Complete.
Yes. It is because of the self that the heart beats, that the mind thinks, discriminates, and fantasizes. It is because of the self that love arises within us. The self gives power to all our senses and illuminates the objects we perceive through these senses. This body, this human, individual, person, this body does not function on its own. Hear that? Hear that? This body does not function on its own. Without the self, it is nothing but a corpse. Hear that. Hear that. Remember that. Remember that. Self, the power of the self sustains life.
So that means there's only one power.
One.
Omnipotent. Omnipresent. One power now, so it's one mind. Omniscient. All-knowing.
Excellent.
Right?
Yes.
So we're saying this is the same as the self.
Correct. True. Not only does the self pervade and sustains our individual existence, it also pulsates in every atom in the world.
Universe.
Yes. In this way, the self is apparent in its manifest. It is manifest. Some philosophers say that the self cannot be known, yet the self is always being experienced at every moment of our lives. The self pulsates in every atom of this world. Every atom, the self. Constantly sparkling within your mind. It cannot be perceived by the senses because it makes the senses function. It cannot be perceived by the mind because it makes the mind think. Still, the self can be known. And to know it, we do not need the help of the mind and the senses. How about that? Do not need the help of the mind or the senses.
Radio station.
Yes.
So it comes back again to say, well, who's the self and who is the mind? Who's the body? Who's the person?
Yes.
Is it all one and the same?
No.
The human?
No.
And the self? Even though that is what we've been taught.
Right, we have been.
What the eye is expressing is saying, no, there is a difference.
That's right. And it can be known, the self can be known by the subtle intellect. Just as we see our own reflection in a mirror, the self can be seen reflected in the mirror of the purified intellect. Purified intellect. You know, that's the way to be experienced, to be who I am, with a purified mind, not the erroneous mind that we are socialized through deceptive words and definitions, you know, stereotypes to be the way we are, maladjusted, it appears, in the criminogenic open-air prison. Isn't that crazy? Although we have a criminal justice system. How ironic.
And then we want to emphasize now, it appears that this is actually going on.
Yes.
But we want to even question that reality. Because remember, we're we've been given this reality because we're born in a system, given words, language, definitions, stereotypes.
Yes.
Right? Fantasies and myths.
Correct.
When
That's
once internalized.
Incorrectly given. Yes.
We're
regulating the behavior. That's what's happening.
That's right.
Now, earlier something was said, and what you're saying now makes me think of the statement that wealth is a state of mind. Wealth is a state of mind. I must also say that so is freedom, liberation, a state of mind.
Very good.
A state of mind.
Very good. Just like we're saying, well, you know, you have to have a wealth consciousness and a health consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah, so then that you're saying is how you're perceiving yourself, how you're seeing yourself.
Yes. Am I all I'm taught to be, which is really a limited individual.
True. Surface.
Stuck in relative practical reality, where mistreatment is the philosophy of the day.
Yes, muscles and curves.
That's what's the effort and the focus, not life being more valuable than anything.
So things.
Yes, takes priority. If you don't have things or money, then you don't have life. You can't eat. You can't sleep.
That's what's actually being taught.
That's
but
right.
Saying too, it's a state of mind. It's a belief.
Right. So that should never be the condition.
Some of these, as you say, erroneous ideas. Because remember how the conversation is started. Who is the self and who's the body? So we're saying and encouraging, because we can't teach self-knowledge.
No.
But we believe and know that we can point towards its realization.
Correct.
Right? That's our goal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we're saying too, the idea of break it down. Break yourself down. Break your person down. Work to understand the nature and structure of this human mind.
Right.
You know, try and see if you can have a metaphysical, a mental physical.
Great.
And the reason for that is because we have been socialized.
Yes, being socialized.
Our mind has been colonized.
Yes.
We've been said basically colonized system. That's what we've been taught to and we're confined in. But it's mental.
Yes, it is mental. Hear that. Hear that.
Before it looks and appears physical.
That's right. It's mental, and that is the change that's needed to understand, to know absolute reality, everyone.
That's right. So
absolute
saying break
reality.
it back down then to that metaphysical, the source.
Yes.
Check this out. Ask yourself, sit down, quiet, meditate.
Where do thoughts come from?
We're in a dream state.
Yes.
Like, follow the breath.
Yes.
You know, long, deep, natural. Said deep in context to a pot belly thought versus a chest that's too short. But the idea is be natural about it and follow the breath in and out. Realize you're not in control. Realize and ask yourself also, where does thoughts come from? Where does the mind come from? Where does the body come from? Where does wealth, where does money come from? Where do I come from? Breathe, follow the breath, and you'll come to realize what's left. I meant to have said, is this breath, is this existence, is this life?
Self.
This is what is the self. Without it, this human would be just a dead corpse. Alright? But the thing is, this is the true self-realization we're saying, we're pointing to.
Wonderful.
You know, absolute truth, one and the same. Absolute reality, infinite, complete.
Eternal.
And what? I am that. right? We're saying it's undifferentiated energy matter. We say when you strip it all down, everything is one, right? In terms of the atoms and molecules and the base of everything, the source of everything, being identifying with the object of study, right? So we're saying it takes that metaphysical after realizing it is a political necessity to have us inside out, upside down, so you can still see the political, spiritual necessity to put yourself upside the right way up.
Yes, and I'm here to encourage everyone to remember who the I is that everyone refer to self as.
Very good.
Yes.
It reminds me too of the subject for the night.
Yes. Religion, truth, and identity.
Does it go with what the I was saying?
Yes.
Remember who the I is?
Very well.
Religion.
Yes.
Truth.
Yes.
Identity.
Identity.
And it comes back to say, well, go back to that source.
Correct.
Because remember, say religion. Remember, reconnect.
Yes.
Religion.
That's what it is
Right.
for. That's right. And it's looking at also the cause, nature, purpose of the universe. And this is what Justice Radio Station is encouraging in your independent study. Remember, in your independent study, answer the question, who am I? Am I really who I am? Am I all I ought to be? Am I really who I am ought to be? The human, the body, the individual, the person, the citizen, the Democrat, the Republican, the Libertarian.
Concluding, no, we just proved that in that exercise in terms of breakdown. That self, that life, to see that without it, it would be just a corpse. So understanding that's the basis, that's our makeup is vital in terms of now going forward in self-definition, self-realization.
Assert self, right?
Right?
Absolutely.
To be able to again deny the person, this persona.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to counter the mistreatment system. So,
and
yes.
we're educated in that we are in.
Oh yes, I tell you. And everyone's being kept in a 500, 600 year cycle curtain consciousness. And no problem can be solved at the same level of consciousness where the problem was created. Can't happen, won't happen, it's not happening. So it's to elevate the level of consciousness. That's why it's important to know what is real. I know we are in practical relative reality, everyone. Let's look at absolute reality, which is what and who the I that everyone refers to self as is.
So then in terms of how do you know what's real, then you have to now determine then when you know what's real, it has to be true.
True.
Absolute reality.
Unchanging.
Is the only thing that exists.
That's true.
And then there's this awareness that everybody refer themselves to.
Yes. That's true.
But the only problem is everyone is looking at this I as personal and that belong to this individual person, this selfie.
Yes, along with all the other attachments.
But we're saying no. Be still and know I'm stillness. I am means existence, exist. And there is an awareness of existence. And that awareness is that I.
Yes.
That's that presence, that now.
Yes.
One and the same.
Right. Correct.
So we're saying existence is infinite, eternal, and complete. That's that life we've been talking about. Omnipresent, omnipotent. And we're saying that which is eternal, complete, infinite is that I am. So that's why we're saying then there's a discrepancy in terms of who this body is. Because if you compare the body, it's finite, it's lacking, it's incomplete. It looks at itself if you really think about some of the characteristics. That's why we're saying, see if you can understand the nature and the structure of the human mind. And also see this political necessity to keep us all upside down. How does the mind thinks? How does it perceive itself? Because you can't see the mind. But there's a left hemisphere and there's a right hemisphere of the brain. So that's a hint. So we're saying how it thinks, how it perceives things, how it looks out and see the world is very important. Because if you're seeing it in terms of forms and there's a whole heap of things going on, we're saying that's erroneous concepts. Because we're concluding that there's only one existence. So there can't be an existence outside of existence. You can't rope it off. You know, each individual equally has that source.
Supremely lovable. Yes.
Beautiful.
Self.
Equally, so there can't be one over the other.
No.
Right, we're saying there's no color, there's no agenda. That already now throw everything and shed a whole heap of light on what really is now.
Right.
And see too, somebody's been bamboozling. This talk and race, a big deception.
Wow, I tell you, that's been the whole thing card. That's been the chokehold.
This is what this idea is. Remember, we're talking about identity and the self.
That's right.
So it's not this human born in Georgia. If you have a certain hue, then you're a black man with all this 200, 300, 500 history. And if you're so-called white, right?
Yes.
You also have this history of 2,000, 300, 500 year history.
Yes, of having to think the way that you've had to think and act.
And you're superior,
yes.
And we're now supposed to be inferior.
What a mess.
And now we're trying to see how we can balance everything.
Yes.
Privilege. And then we think we're underprivileged.
That's
but
the
wait a minute.
mindset.
Is anything Gussa?
Not at all. Not at all.
Existence.
That's right. Only one. And these are the tricks that's being played to make one think that they are separate and apart, that I'm only human, that we're separate and apart. One is over the other.
I'm doing my own thing.
Yes, I'm an individual. All these erroneous thoughts.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that the problem is not being solved. We get more and more 501c3s or non-profit or for-profit organizations in this corporation. One big corporation, everyone.
But as the I always remind us, can you use the same level of consciousness that all of this was put together in to solve it? And we're already concluded no. Because it's the emotions that the human is caught up in. Can't solve the complex problem that we're facing of this left brain thinking. We need to holistically
balance, yes, the right and left.
And do we know anything about the right brain?
Here's
very important, so do your homework.
Independent study.
Fail to plan to fail, as the story goes.
That's what happens. And starting now.
So we're saying, remember
who the I is that you refer to yourself as. Remember correctly. You know how you hear political correctness? We want to remember to be spiritually correct about speaking of the self and speaking of the body, when the body, which have senses and lacking, so it has needs. When the body is hungry, the individual is hungry, when the person is hungry, say that, because that's what's happening. The person is perceiving hunger. Not I am hungry. I am is complete, absolute. No need for anything, everything.
So you're talking about, since there's political correctness, we should have also spiritual correctness.
Yes.
So in terms of now, how you perceiving self is very important.
Yes.
So in terms of now, after defining who this self is,
Correct.
we're saying now, using spiritual correctness is
Yes.
very important to define who one is.
Yes, identify self, assert self. Not just say something and intellectually and let it stop there, everyone, because that's not who I am.
So then, if the body is not who I am in terms of now saying, I am hungry, so who's this I am?
I am is the self, the pulsating, the energy, the power that fuels the body, the power that makes
Charge
that,
up the phone.
yes,
And then we're saying, without that power, without that energy, without that source, the body would just be
just
a corpse.
just a corpse. Right.
It hasn't got any power of its own.
No, as a matter of fact, it's the self that makes the sight, the senses. Yes, because of the self, I'm seeing, hearing, pulsating. The atoms that pulsate in the world pulsates within the breath, inhaling out and inhaling in.
The human, if you focus a little bit, you'll see that you're not in charge of that breath that's being inhaled. And you say you can't hold it for too long, somehow something is pushing it out.
That's right. And you can't keep it out for too long because
Something
something's pulling it in. Hear
That's
that?
the self, though.
That's the self. The heartbeat, you can't stop that blood from flowing, that heart from beating, the pulse from pulsating. This is the self, y'all. This is the self, everyone.
So then to recap,
Remember,
remember, this is Justice Radio Station, Social Issues app, here nightly, 8 p.m. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
yes,
Tonight episode,
religion, identity, truth and identity.
religion
Truth
and identity. Very important subject, because if you really think about it, there is a kind of identity crisis going on,
Yes.
or a lack of identity. That's why again the DNA tests and the try and see what tribe one is from and so forth is so popular. People even doing it as gifts for siblings and so forth.
What a sight when you look at the deception in terms of individuals telling what to do to regain one's identity. And it's always a money maker. The corporation, every time something can be refined or money can be made to so-called help the people, all the way up to now, let's say 400, 500, 600 years. However, now, the mistreatment system that we're in, where is the help? And what type of help are we talking about? Because as mentioned, Tahuti reminds us that it's a mental type of mindset. It's a mental that where everything is being contrived. And then we're taking on the projection of individuals who may feel not good about their person, because right now the self is being not understood. We're thinking that the person is the body, is the self, is the individual, and all that's rolled into one.
That's right.
And that is not the case. That's not true at all, everyone.
So we're saying question
Question
everything
everything
that you believe, because
that
if it's
you
not based on
have
truth,
been told, right, then it's not real.
and also then that also means you could be controlled by the
Yes.
beliefs of again somebody else.
Yes, of something that's non-existent. Now
So-
that's a twister.
So we're saying that then to say we've described in then the human, the body, the person is not who and what I am. What I am, the source, our essence, the self, undifferentiated energy matter,
Yes.
can become anything, the atoms and molecules, particles, quantums, quarks. We're saying when you cut it, it's just pure, it's empty.
Light.
It's empty. So we have to question again, what is then atoms and molecules? And have to come to the concluding also again in context of relative reality is the more, as you say, dense
Yes.
ness
Yes.
that we're experiencing.
Yes.
It's all energy matter.
Magnificent.
At its subtlest, it is in that light form, unseen, can't be perceived. But then in the solid, so then now that's why we're saying we're questioning who's this human and who's the self, and does even this human truly exist in context to who self is? Because can there be another power on its own outside living?
Only one.
And then now when we say check out the nature and structure of the human mind, we see, oh, the reason why it could perceive itself the way it's perceiving itself, because it is looking at itself, that I it's experiencing, and call itself I, is ego sense is clouding who the I is, because he's got all these attachments and labels, wearing all these hats, attached party, color, history. So it's clouding who that's true, as we say, source, pure.
Yes. Clouding
Ness
now.
is lovable.
Yes.
This is. So we're saying is to be able to get rid of some of that erroneous ideas by, as we're saying, going back to the source, have a metaphysical, a mental physical, metaphysical, mental physical, realizing there's only one infinite power, and this must be who and what I am.
Right.
I'm more than a sun or a chip off the whole block.
Right.
I have to realize
I am the block. Very good. The source, the self, absolute truth, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresence. All.
very good life.
Yes. Remember, everyone, remember, in reality, in absolute reality, everything is one.
And we're saying that's the vital way now to get rid of this ignorant mind, and the ignorant mean being separated from who and what I am.
How about that?
So getting rid of that ignorant mind and thoughts is what now important. This uncontrolled emotions and passion. Realize you can be responsible for how you're thinking. Realize again, say you can ignore some of these unwanted thoughts. Don't dwell on them. Give them life as they come knocking. Don't answer the door. Don't answer the phone.
Don't answer the text.
We say we have even ID calling now, so you know who's calling.
That's
How
right.
about that?
If it's not constructive or
Exactly.
absolute truth,
You know who's calling.
right.
Okay, so we're saying the idea then, erroneous ideas that we've been fed and born on a planet that we've taken on. We're saying ideas that if internalized regulate our behavior, the idea for desires and objects. Ooh, I gotta get me one of them. You know, this is even a thing or even a person. Huh?
That's right.
So we're saying this is all about, people would say self-satisfaction, but we're disputing it. it must be personal cravings and personal satisfaction
It is.
versus self-satisfaction,
No,
right?
that's correct.
And then we're saying this is also the cause of mental agitation, right?
That's right, it is.
So it's almost like the
Erroneous.
rich man and the poor man having the same problem.
That's right.
You know, one's trying to protect it, one's trying to get it. But
Yeah.
the secret and the twist is, the idea is, the mental agitation is stopping them from realizing who and what they are.
That's right. That's what the mistreatment is. That's what it's equal to, is to keep one away from acquiring knowledge of self. Because one of the things that happens by having self-knowledge is that you counter a mistreatment of the individual,
Very
of
good.
you.
Very good. How you counter it.
That's right. Just
so this
that
is
way.
also, we're saying, a way to counter, right?
That's right, the mistreatment system. And what's so relieving is that each and every one, it's an individual thing. It's an individual independently uniting one's brain, the left and right hemisphere, uniting that, balancing that brain, everyone, and
Thought,
absolute
speech, and
action, yes. And realizing that there's a relative practical reality, and there is absolute reality. Absolute reality, which is real. And being born in a society, in an environment where words and definitions already in place, where we're thinking that we're coming into a place that's real. This is it. Oh, and look at it, all the bright lights, all the good food, right. Oh, you know, everything, senses, taste, what I see, what I like, just making that erroneous individual stay erroneous. Generation.
And it's basically based on ego sense in context to self-perception.
Right.
Who one thinks one is.
Right. And this is the mistreatment cause because of lack of self-knowledge, everyone. And I'm right there with you all the time, within us. Always right there. Yes, the senses.
The footstep in the sand, I was carrying you, my love.
That's right, but I am. Not the senses, but the, I make the senses sense.
I am that.
Yes.
Alright.
Yes.
And the idea we're saying too, the ego sense that I am, is creating that veil. Not I am that individual, not connected to anything or anyone. I am separate. So then I'm viewing the world in the context of objects. There's a whole heap of people with a whole heap of names, with forms, separate and dual from I. But this is relative reality, and we're saying we have to get rid of now, as you're saying, this erroneous idea. Truly engage the right hemisphere. That's where now that true happiness, bliss, can actually now be obtained.
Naturally.
Because one now can see that pure mind and thought shows that the passion, ego sense is gone. Realize that I am complete. I don't need all these desires for objects. Really, there's only one universal self. So that means now that blind on my eyes is off. The ego sense is now, in a sense, is more of for humor. It's a toy. So I've transcended it. So now I'm seeing things as one self, thus experiencing unity with all things. The world now appears as it truly is, an ocean of existence, non-dual, without judgment, without desires, absolute truth. This is who and what I am. I am that.
Yes. Take a deep breath. Inhale, everyone. Exhale. Repeat. I am that.